Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make a double spiral. Using a washable marker, I put two little dots on the shirt, one up here in this corner, one down in the opposite corner, and I'm going to use this modified fork to create my spiral. Keep spinning the fork while you work the pleats around. Try to keep your pleats all the same height and not overlapping each other. Once you get that first spiral finished, wiggle the fork and pull it out gently so you don't poke a hole in your shirt. And then you want to go down to the other dot that you created and spin it in the same direction as the first spiral. And you want to hold the first spiral so that it doesn't become undone. Hold on to your spirals and just work the rest of the shirt around, creating one giant spiral. And then secure it with rubber bands. You can use as many rubber bands as you need to secure the project. You could even use kite string if you prefer it. For this particular pattern, I'm not going to be following the 6 pieces of pie like you do with a regular spiral, so it really doesn't matter how many rubber bands you use. Just make sure it's secure. Using my washable markers, I'm going to mark out my die pattern. With these double spirals, I like to put one color down the center connecting the 2 spirals. The more you do these, the easier it'll become to see the pattern, but you want to have at least one of each color crossing into the center of each of the spiral. I hope that makes sense. For this shirt, I'm marking out the 3 colors that I'm using, and I want to leave one triangle to be white space. I set the shirt aside and I let it dry for a couple of days. I want to take a minute and talk about drying the shirt out. So I use a Panda spin dryer to wring my shirts out after the soda ash. And they're practically dry before I tie them up, so setting them aside for a couple of days is just way too long. These shirts are bone dry and they repel the dye. As you've seen in my last couple of videos, I've had a really hard time getting the dye into the shirt. What I recommend is having a bottle of soda ash solution, like in a mister bottle, and mist your shirt or spritz your shirt with the soda ash before you start adding the dye. That's going to break the surface tension and make it easier for the dye to penetrate instead of running all over the surface of the shirt into your other sections. You'll be seeing me implement this in my next few videos. Here is a good view of what I mean about having all of your colors cross in the center of the spiral. That way, as the spiral is unfolded, you're going to see, how do I explain it? Like the rings of each spiral are going to have the different colors that you use. And like usual, the Raven Black has given me the business. It just always clogs up in the tip of my bottle. I've got to figure out something because it's driving me nuts. So I let the shirt sit for about 15 minutes and then I came back, flipped it over, and now it's time to add the dye to the back. So right about at this point, I've lost complete control over my pattern. I don't even know where it's at anymore. And so I'm just adding dye, hoping that I'm doing it correctly. What do they say? Spray and pray. So I'm spraying and praying right now, and we're gonna just see what happens. I like to batch my shirts inside of a bin, so put the lid on it and let it batch for 24 hours. So this shirt ended up sitting for the 48 hours that I normally do, and you can see how it was just so oversaturated. Look at the amount of dye that is coming out of it. So that's a good indicator when you've oversaturated that you have this much dye running out. If you get the proper saturation, you don't see as much going down the drain. And remember, you can always reuse your rubber bands. So at this point I'm rinsing and I'm thinking, my goodness, I don't see any white, I don't see any gray, all I see is black and red. So you always feel a little bit defeated when things don't turn out how you want them to. but what are you gonna do? Well, here it is after it's been washed and dried, and it actually didn't turn out as bad as I thought it was going to. I kind of see octopus tentacles, but let's talk about the shirt for a minute. I lost the white, and the black pretty much swallowed up the gray, but there's a little bit in there. You can see that I've lost the pattern, but it actually is like a happy accident. I like the sort of lightning effect that's down at the bottom of the shirt, and there's some DNA going on up at the top of the shirt. It's tie-dye. So in the future, I think I'm going to mark out my pattern on the back, and I'm really going to work on my saturation. I think that's going to help a lot. What do you guys think? Go ahead and leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my new growing channel, give me a thumbs up, and click the bell for future notifications. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing.